Welcome to the Geography series. I have great pleasure in inviting your valued attention to this episode dealing with types and distribution of flora and fauna. In this episode, let me explain the type and distribution of flora and fauna on this earth. This episode consists of following modules. 1. Flora and fauna defined. 2nd. Importance of flora and fauna. 3rd. Types of flora and fauna. 4th. Nature of flora and fauna, world distribution. Let me begin with flora and fauna defined. By definition, flora is a word of Latin origin referring to Flora, the goddess of flowers. Flora can refer to a group of plants as well as to bacteria. Flora is the root of the word floral, which means pertaining to flowers. Fauna can refer to the animal life or certain region, time, period or environment. Fauna is also of Latin origin. In Roman mythology, Fauna was the sister of Faunus, a good spirit of the forest and plains. The flora and fauna of any given region is usually explained in biological terms to include the genes and species of plant and animal life, their preferred growing or breeding habits, and their connection to one another in the environment as well. In addition to geographical groupings, environment also helps further classifications of flora and fauna. For example, aquatic flora and fauna of a region refers to the plant and animal life found in the waters in or surrounding a geographic region. The term flora is often used to cover all plants, fungi and algae in given environment, while fauna refers to the animals that live there. The specific definition of flora and fauna is the plants and animals that live in a particular area or time. The difference in flora and fauna stems from whether plants or animals are being discussed. Importance of flora and fauna. Biologists and environmentalists study flora and fauna for a number of reasons. Preservations and conservations, as well as gaining new biological understandings, are just a few reasons why flora and fauna are important to researchers. Several organizations, including Fauna and Flora International, work together to use their research and findings to further policy on conservation and preservation as well as biodiversity. An indigenous species, whether plant or animal, is one that originated in an area and continues to grow and survive there without any interference by humans. The opposite of indigenous species are introduced ones. Many believe only animals are endangered. They think wild plants can just grow back after damage. Our native plants are declining at an alarming rate. Among them are some of the most beautiful and useful species on earth. The implications of this trend are stunning. The importance of plants to life on earth is immeasurable. The landscape and wildlife we cherish, the food we eat, even the very air we breathe is connected to plant life. Plants support wildlife. for every plant species that goes extinct, up to 30% other species of plants, insects and other animals may also decline. Plants provide the food and habitat for wildlife, from birds and butterflies to antelope and field mice. Plants support a healthy environment. They provide clean air, help hold soil in place, clean water, moderate wind and water impacts, and shade the earth. Plants support people. Plants give many gifts to man. They provide food, fiber, fuels, pharmaceuticals, ornamental and fragrance. Many of our native plants are known to contain chemicals that can be used to treat human illness. Others have the ability to fight agricultural pests and improve existing crops. Even more economic and scientific treasures await discovery. Each species is a potential natural resource. The genetic diversity of plants and animals is preserved. It ensures the sustainable utilization of life support systems on the earth. It provides a vast knowledge of potential use to the scientific community. A reservoir of wild animals and plants is preserved, thus enabling them to be introduced if need be in the surrounding areas. Biological diversity provides immediate benefits to the society, such as recreation and tourism. Biodiversity conservation serves as an insurance policy for the future. Now let me explain the types of flora and fauna. Both flora and fauna have further classifications or subdivisions. Flora classifications depend on the region, climate, environment and period of the plants being described. The fauna subdivisions are based on mostly on where the animals live and their size. There are many different flora regions across the planet. Some regions can be as large as entire continents or as small as a wetland or a mountain regions. Besides geographic areas, climate and time periods can group different plants into floras. Finally, plants can be grouped into native flora, agriculture and garden flora and weed flora. Types of fauna. There are 7 different subdivisions of fauna and that are used based on where the animals occur and their size. 1. Infauna, 2nd. Epifauna, 3rd. Microfauna, 4th. Meiofauna, 5th. Macrofauna, 6th. Mesofauna, 7th. Megafauna. Infauna and epifauna are aquatic animals that live within or on the bottom of the ocean floor respectively. Microfauna are microscopic and in size, while meiofauna are slightly larger and live in both shale and freshwater soil environments. Macrofauna are tiny soil organisms, larger than meiofauna but smaller than earthworms, which is part of the mesofauna group. Finally, megafauna are the large animals of the particular environment being discussed. Infauna are the organisms that reside within the bottom in most oceanic sediments. Epifauna are called epibenths, are aquatic animals that live on the bottom substratum as opposed to within it. Macrofauna are soil organisms which are retained on a 0.5 mm savi. Megafauna are large animals of any particular region or time. Meofauna are small benthic invertebrates that live in both marine and freshwater environments. Meofauna loosely defines as group of organisms by their size, larger than microfauna but smaller than macrofauna rather than a taxonomic grouping. Mesofauna are macroscopic soil invertebrates such as earthworms and arthropods. Microfauna are microscopic or very small animals, types of flora. Flora is basically the plant life that is present in a particular region or habitat or at a particular time, and fauna is the animal life that is present in a particular region or habitat or at a particular time. The area of flora, fauna and biodiversity is quite interrelated. Flora and fauna forms a major part of biodiversity. Plants are grouped into floras based on region, period, special environment or climate. Regions can be geographically distinct habitats like mountains, flatlands. Floras can mean plant life of an historic era as in fossil flora. Lastly, floras may be subdivided by special environments. They are as follows. Native flora, the native and indigenous flora of an area. Second is agriculture and garden flora, the plants that are deliberately grown by humans. The third is weed flora. Traditionally, this classification was applied to plants regarded as undesirable and studied in efforts to control or eradicate them. Today, the designation is less often used as classification of plant life since it includes three different types of plants: weedy species, invasive species, and native and introduced non-weedy species that are agriculturally undesirable. Many native plants previously considered weeds have been shown to be beneficial or even necessary to various ecosystems. Nature of flora and fauna. Bacterial organisms are sometimes included in a flora, and sometimes the terms bacterial flora and plant flora are used separately. The terrestrial flora and fauna are classified as follows. Terrestrial flora. Over much of the planet, terrestrial flora is the most significant visual component of the landscape. This flora is classified into perennial, that means plants that endure seasonal climatic fluctuation from year to year. Second, annuals, plants that perish during times of climatic stress but leave behind a reservoir of seeds to germinate during the next favorable period. In floristic terminology, we can classify flora into plants that reproduces through spores, plants that reproduces through seeds, stem or trunk composition, leaf loss, leaf shape, wood, hardwood and softwood trees are some of the floristic classifications. Terrestrial fauna. Characteristics of terrestrial fauna. Animals occur in much greater variety than plants over earth. Animals much less prominent than plants in the landscape. Environmental interrelationships are much less clearly evidenced by animals. Animals are sometimes more sensitive indicators than plants of ecosystems health. Animals are motile, capable of safe generated movement, and animals cannot manufacture their own food. Kinds of animals: invertebrates, animal without backbone. More than 90% of all animal species belongs to beetles, are most numerous of animals. Vertebrates, animals that have backbone that protects the main nerve, spinal cord. Examples: fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, mammals. Now let me explain the world distribution of flora and fauna. Rainy forests are forests characterized by high rainfall with definitions setting minimum normal annual rainfall between 1750 to 2000 millimeters. The monsoon trough, alternatively known as the intratropical convergence zone, plays a significant role in creating Earth's tropical rainforests. 40 to 75% of all species on the world's habitats are indigenous to the rainy forests. It has been estimated that many millions of species of plants, insects, and microorganisms are still undiscovered. Tropical rainy forests have been called the jewels of the earth and the world's largest pharmacy because over 1/4 of natural medicines have been discovered there. Rainy forests are also responsible for 28% of the world's oxygen turnover, often misunderstood as oxygen production. Processing it through photosynthesis, the undergrowth in a rainy forest is restricted in many areas by the lack of sunlight at ground level. This makes it possible to walk through the forest. If the leaf canopy is destroyed or thinned, the ground beneath is soon colonized by a dense, tangled growth of vines, shrubs, and small trees called a jungle. There are two types of rainy forest: one tropical rainy forest and temperate rainy forest. Many of the world's rainy forests are associated with the location of the monsoon trough, also known as the intratropical convergence zone. Tropical rainy forests are rainy forests in the tropics found near the equator between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn and present in Southeast Asia, Myanmar to Philippines, Indonesia, New Guinea and northeastern Australia, Sri Lanka, sub-Saharan Africa from Cameroon to Congo, South America, Central America, and many of the Pacific islands. Tropical rainy forests have been called the Earth's lungs, although it is now known that rainy forest contributes little net oxygen addition to the atmosphere through photosynthesis. Temperate rainy forests are rainy forests in temperate regions. They can be found in North America, in the Pacific Northwest, the British Columbia coast, and in the inland rainforest of the Rocky Mountain Trench east of Prince George. In Europe, part of British Isles, Ireland, Scotland, southern Norway, and the northwest of Spain and coastal areas of eastern Black Sea. India is a land of varied flora and fauna and biodiversity. India is one of the 12 mega diverse nations of the world. Two of India's great mountain ranges, the eastern Himalayas and the western Ghats, have been designated among the world's 18 hotspots of biodiversity. But in the last few decades, we have seen a steady increase in the extinction rate of flora and fauna, etc., all over the world, including India, and so now conservation of biological diversity is a paramount importance to the survival of man. Conservation of biological diversity leads to conservation of essential ecological diversity to preserve the continuity of food chain. Let me sum up the whole episode like this. The tree that lives for 50 years generates rupees 5.3 lakhs worth of oxygen, recycles 6.4 lakhs worth of fertility, facilitates rupees 6.4 lakhs worth of soil erosion control, creates rupees 10.5 lakhs worth of air pollution control, and provides rupees 5.3 lakhs worth of shelter for birds and animals. Besides, it provides flowers, fruits and timber. So, when one tree falls or is felled, something worth more than 33.9 lakhs rupees are destroyed. Flora and fauna provide an economic benefit to human society. Health agencies and pharmaceutical companies are making major effort to collect and species for compounds that have the ability to fight major diseases. Nearly everyone enjoys wildlife and forest aesthetically, and joy makes our lives good. Both flora and fauna of a region is studied separately and together by a number of different types of scientists. Botanists or plant scientists mainly study flora, while zoologists study fauna. Ecologists and those studying conservation look at both flora and fauna together, as the two groups are dependent on each other to survive. Geographers study the flora and fauna to know the spatial distribution and variations. Fauna consists of mammals, cats, monkeys, other mammals, reptiles and amphibians, turtles, snakes, lizards, crocodiles and birds, whereas flora consists of trees, fruits and nuts, orchards, medicinal plants and other plant life. Habitat destruction, invasive foreign plants and animals, overcollection and other environmental damage are eroding our natural plant communities. Some species have declined to such small numbers that a bad storm or a plant collector could wipe them out in minutes. Without intervention, they will be lost forever.